I'm Sarita Martin. I'm the moderator for Anne Burgevin. Her talk is Exploring Haiku Prompts. And a little bit of housekeeping ahead of time. This session's being recorded. You can chat in the chat box and present your poems in the chat box to be read later. We may not be able to get to all of them because it's such a large group, but we'll do our best to get to as many as we can. So stay muted during the session. It'll have a slideshow followed by a writing period and then a sharing period. And the presenter has asked me to read your poems during the sharing period, just so we get to more of them that way than having people mute and unmute. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this before she starts. Exploring haiku prompts. Inspiration for haiku at times can feel mysterious and elusive. We turn to prompts when we need a boost or a little inspiration to get us writing. Where do prompts come from? In this workshop, we are going to explore where the many prompts reside. After a brief presentation, followed by group discussion and time to write, about 12 minutes, attendees will, after the presentation's all over and the sharing, you'll leave the group with a new poem and lots of inspiration for more poems through the prompts. Anne Burgevin began writing haiku 10 years ago and has never looked back. She enjoys helping her young, creative writing students learn to write haiku as much as she enjoys writing it herself. Many of her students have received recognition for their haiku in contests and publications. Anne's first collection, Frozen Earth, was published 3 years ago by Red Moon Press. For the past 2 years, she's been a judge at the Hexapod Haiku Contest, which is sponsored by Penn State Entomological Museum. I have trouble with those long words sometimes. And open to all ages. Anne is honored to be a part of the international community of haiku poets, a supportive, creative, intelligent, and lively community of writers. So please welcome Anne.
Thank you, Sarita, for that lovely introduction. And greetings, everybody, from the 7 mountains and valleys of central Pennsylvania. My name is Anne Burgevin. It's a pleasure to have this time with you today. Thank you, Jay Friedenberg and Ignatius Fay, as well as our moderator, Sarita Martin, for working behind the scenes to make this conference possible. I feel honored to be a presenter in the 2021 HSA conference. Let me take just a moment to also introduce Sarita Martin to you, because she has just introduced me to you. Sarita writes and teaches poetry to 3rd graders through adults in schools and libraries in San Diego and a local writing group in the area. She belongs to several poetry groups. One of them, the name really caught my attention, Women of Few Words. And Sarita, I look forward to seeing more of your writing as time goes by. I'd like to give a special welcome to the new haiku participants and writers in this conference. I actually designed my workshop with you in mind. I have been a teacher all of my professional career. Currently, I teach creative writing, art, and karate to students of all ages. I'm familiar with the beginner's state of mind. A beginner writer often needs help finding a way to begin writing. And on the other hand, without preconceived ideas of what their writing should look like, they are open to their perceptions. In some sense, we are all beginners each time we start to write a haiku. Not uncommonly, though, We need some inspiration, a jump start. I hope this workshop will give you some prompts to add to your haiku toolbox. And now let's begin the slideshow that I prepared. Welcome to the haiku prompt presentation and workshop called Haiku Prompts. Where do they reside? My experience tells me that haiku prompts are everywhere, even in the grocery store. My local grocery store is sometimes my muse. More on that later. When I pay attention to words and interesting phrases I hear or read, I often feel inspired to use them in a haiku. Where do haiku prompts reside? In more places than we realize. And here is the agenda for my presentation. First, the slideshow. Then we're going to review the prompts, have some time to write and share. Celebrated haiku poet Peggy Willis Lyles once said, "At best, haiku merge images from the exterior world with the landscape of the poet's heart so effectively that a receptive and fully participatory reader can become part of the poem too." A haiku poet whose work I greatly admire is Peggy Willis Lyles. This quote of hers has been a guiding light for me, so I wanted to share it with you. I try to keep her words in mind when I write haiku. Studying masterfully written haiku prompts me to pick up my pen and write. These haiku, and others like them, are my best teachers. Please notice that I have underlined a word in each haiku. This is the prompt word I've chosen for you, and at the end of my presentation, I will list them on one slide. Moon and melon cooling with us in this stream. Miss Lyles placed two spherical objects in the stream during a nighttime swim in the heat of the summer. It is so hot, even the melon needs cooling. Stream has many meanings and contexts. The stream of life, conversation streaming, a stream of water, and now, of course, computers screening. How could you weave a stream into your haiku? Autumn twilight, the wreath on the door lifts in the wind. By Nicholas Virgilio. Mr. Virgilio writes about autumn's end, day's end, and yet there is a feeling of lightness, of spring even, in the phrase of his haiku. The wind lifts the wreath. Wind is an important element in this haiku. How does the wind affect you? Recall a time when you noticed the wind. An endless well of ideas for prompts lies in the world of art. I use the process of creating art as a way to prompt myself to write haiku. Sometimes my drawing and doodling inspires the haiku. Sometimes that works in reverse. In this haiga, I wrote the haiku first and then I painted the image later. Creating art for the sake of the artistic process need not be complicated. You could simply mix colors, sculpt with some Sculpey. tear and arrange paper. Winter apples. She thinks he's a keeper. Keeping fruit in storage works for a while. Comparing fruit in winter storage with feelings for someone explores the notion of what lasts and what doesn't last. I invite you to use winter apples in a haiku of your own. The paintings of American artist Mary Cassatt, who painted scenes of mothers and children, prompt me to recall early motherhood and my childhood. Both are sources for my haiku. Perhaps you appreciate abstract art, the Impressionists, or art from the continent of Africa. Follow your eye, look at what interests you, and see where it takes you. Here are 3 haiku that were inspired by parenthood and childhood. I hope they inspire you to recall moments in your life. Our daughter's wedding, dusting the room she dreamed in. Francine's haiku explores the passage of time in a creative and moving way. Dusting the room she dreamed in is uniquely expressive of her experiences and feelings. What unique phrase could you use to express your experience of a wedding? Fatherhood, weathered brown hands shield a candle. Gideon begins his haiku with one weighted word. He pivots to a brief yet meaningful moment in which a person who has been weathered by their years is protecting someone or something. Our hands do many things. They are an extension of our brain and our heart. They carry a lot of meaning. They carry a lot. Try using hand in your haiku. Snowy day. Kids make paper chains 3 teachers long. This haiku captures the interplay between teacher and children in a moment of learning and fun. Children love to measure adults against things in their world. It's empowering and in a way for them to connect. Paper is an ephemeral material, and in this way, I compare paper to the fleeting nature of childhood. Is there a way that you could use paper in your haiku? National Haiku Writing Month, fondly known as NaHaWriMo, offers a daily prompt year-round on its Facebook page. The Haiku Foundation provides a weekly prompt on its Haiku Dialogue page. These online sites are great resources. I've participated in National Haiku Writing Month for 9 years. It's an exciting and supportive forum created and maintained by Michael Dillon Welch. The Haiku Foundation serves the haiku community in countless ways. I encourage you to check out both when you need a prompt. From Jumblebox, a compilation of National Haiku Writing Month haiku and senryu, come these 2 and many other fine haiku. Our wild stories around the campfire crackle with the flames. Ron's use of sound is key to his haiku. I can hear the animated storyteller and the crackling fire. The word flames describes the fire and the wild stories, and in doing so brings unity to the haiku, like the circle of a campfire. Could the word flames light up your haiku? As if the stars weren't enough, falling in love. Michelle creates layers of meaning by tying together stars and love with the word falling. She conveys a moment brimming over with excitement. How might you use the word falling as a bridge between two images? Fairy tales contain archetypal words. And what is the value of using archetypal words in a haiku? These words act as a literary device by building complex characterization through a seemingly simple word. Here are 3 examples. I selected the word language from the Grimm's fairy tale, The Willow Wren. The word berry from The Little Cock and the Little Hen is familiar to everyone. Crown from The Three Crowns, a Celtic fairy tale, is a verb and a noun. Pale sun, a handful of pigeons crowns the birch. Odd uses crowns in an artful way. Crown is a word which refers to a treetop, a symbol of monarchy, or the top of someone's head. In this haiku, it is a verb. The sun and the pigeons are crowning the birch, creating a colorful image while also bringing a sense of importance to the moment. Try using crown in your haiku. Berry stains. Washing my face with the Mississippi. Berries have sustained humans and other species for millennia. The Mississippi is an old river. Michael's hint at eons is juxtaposed with a simple moment of washing berry stains from one's face. Not in the Mississippi, but with it. With this elegant word choice, the author invites the reader to feel oneness with the natural world. Use berry in your haiku and see what happens. Long before language, the S of the river. The natural world has shape and form. The Fibonacci spiral in sunflowers, the patterns of leaves and branches. Annette focuses on the shape of the river and its relationship to the word language. This haiku would make a fine classroom teaching tool about the history of humans and for teaching the alphabet. In it, the author spans, like a river spans, a wide range of elemental and sophisticated meanings. I challenge you to use the word language in your haiku. Music, lyrics, rhythm, mood, instruments, voice. Like art, music can be inspiring, whether listening to music or creating it. Music moves us. Let it move you to compose a haiku. Here are 2 haiku inspired by music. A cello next door, the billowy flight of black cockatoos. Cello and billowy sound a lot like the word blow. The wind blows. Birds are blown in the wind. The wind carries music. Marietta creatively captures a moment of music and movement. The black cockatoos in flight is a memorable image. just as music lives on in our minds. Soft morning rain, the island deer stretches for a golden plum. Rain can be musical and rhythmical, and here in the soft rain is a soft looking animal reaching for a soft plum, golden no less. This haiku is like a gift. It gives us something special. Let morning rain grace a haiku of yours. Repetitive movement. The question, how do you combat creative blocks, is answered by an artist, Marie Berriot. I combat blocks by using my hands in a repetitive mode while thinking. When I try to conjure up ideas for my next piece, I usually sew the borders of blank pieces of paper. I have tons of them, and the act of sewing makes me feel at ease and helps me imagine what is coming next. A Colombian-born collage artist, Marie Berriot lives now and works in New York City. Her magic realism collages inspire me, as do her reflections on the creative process. What is your creative process like? Do you take walks to think and wonder? Sew on paper? Sweep the floor? Pedal your bike? Haiku about repetitive movement. Evening rain, hand sewing, a sky blue quilt. In this haiku, I recall a moment sewing a quilt for my mother during the pandemic when I couldn't be with her. As I sewed, I heard the rain, and for a time, I felt a rhythmical connection with the rain. Was the rain sewing my mother's quilt? I think it would be fun to use the word sewing in a haiku or some other word that represents rhythmical movement. Circle of lamplight, I complete the baby quilt begun for me. Carolyn suggests the circle of life in the first line of her haiku. Birth gifts aren't always finished and sometimes never given. They remain tucked away in a chest or a closet. Carolyn takes up where someone has left off to complete her own birth gift. Gifts arrive in mysterious ways. I think lamplight represents that sense of mystery. Try to create a feeling of mystery in your haiku using lamplight as your guide. Natural history prompts. Hermit thrush. Cornell University's Laboratory of Ornithology website, which is a lot of syllables, all about birds. And then a photograph of the dragonblood tree. And I researched this tree on Global Tree Search. If you recall Marie Berriot's collage art, there was a dragonblood tree in her collage. Scientific facts can inform our haiku. While I read an excerpt about the hermit thrush from All About Birds website, listen for interesting words. And here's the excerpt. An unassuming bird with a lovely melancholy song, the hermit thrush lurks in the understories of far northern forests in summer and is a frequent winter companion across much of the country. It forages on the forest floor by rummaging through leaf litter or seizing insects with its bill. The hermit thrush has a rich brown upper body and smudge spots on its breast, with a reddish tail that sets it apart from similar species in this genus. I liked the words in that passage: understory, rummaging, leaf litter, and smudge spot. Someday I might use some of those words in a haiku. And now listen to this passage about the dragon blood tree. And if you aren't sure about the dragon blood tree, it grows on one island off of the coast of Lebanon. It was new to me through Marie Barrios's collages. The monsoon season brings cloud, drizzle, and sea mists, and the dragon tree's leaves intercept their airborne moisture, channeling it towards root systems shaded by a dense umbrella-shaped canopy. The dragon tree's strange looks and ancient age belie a species expertly adapted to its environment. The words in that passage that caught my ear are sea mist, channeling, and dense canopy. What stood out for you? Natural history haiku. In this small puddle, the whole oak. Caroline's haiku references scientific scale. Even though we are taught the oak is in the acorn, she suggests we see the oak in a small puddle. It is a lovely reimagining of a scientific fact. Haiku allows us to re-see and rethink our perception. Think of the word puddle in a new and different way. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Spring, an airborne squirrel open pod. We have more energy in the spring, just like the squirrel in flight who is sensing changes in daylight and temperature. We are as well. Airborne suggests lightness, open pod, openness. Our emotions change according to the weather, and there is a science to these changes. Try soaring with an airborne haiku. A black seed under the chickadee's foot, winter morning. Brad's haiku is about a little bird holding a little seed on a winter morning. Its sparseness reminds us what winter is all about. Because the middle line acts as a hinge line, Brad invites us to imagine the winter morning is under the chickadee's foot. A mighty little bird with its foot on the pulse of winter. You'll find seed is a fun word to work with. A photograph can jumpstart the creative writing process. And may I just draw your attention to the photo credit? My brother, who's a photographer, took this photograph of snow geese. Or you can watch a short video about the natural world. Nature 365 is a wonderful resource for 1-minute videos about animals in their natural environment. Animals in flight haiku. First flakes. The curve of a snow goose's neck. Winter begins with first flurries. Animals hunker down, take shelter, migrate, grow a winter coat. This snow goose is folding into itself to keep warm. Winter has its own beauty. The long neck of a goose is part of it. Try using curve in a haiku, such as the curve in a road or in one's body. Snow geese, light spills across the darkness. Color drains from the landscape in winter. We become hungry for brightness, tired of the darkness. Snow geese light up a landscape with their whiteness, their calls and activity. Debbie brings a sense of excitement to the reader in this haiku. I think you'll enjoy using the word darkness. What can you contrast with it? Blanket of night, the warp and weft of bats. Jackie begins her haiku with a unique ordering of words. Blanket of night, and immediately immerses her reading in this dark world. Just as a blanket is woven, the bats are also weaving through the night sky in search of food. This haiku has powerful resonance. Blanket can be used in many different ways. How will you use it? Quotes are a rich source of inspiration. I keep a file of quotes I like. Try writing a haiku in response to a quote. I chose a quote by Mary Oliver. Keep some room in your heart for the unimaginable. And this haiku in response. Hummingbird nest. I was once so small. And another quote. Besides the noble art of getting things done, there is the even nobler art of leaving things undone. The wisdom of life consists in the elimination of non-essentials. This was written by Lin Yutang. And my poem in response, Spring Equinox, following the creek's flow. Imagine turning your calendar every 5 days. Well, there is an app which helps track micro seasons. How many winters did you experience this year? The app is called 72 Seasons, and it helps users bring into focus micro changes in seasonal variations. Leaves scatter, losing color. This late in life, still no answers. Perhaps this well-crafted haiku could reflect, quote, the season in which leaves lose their color. Huddling spring rain, bends of the rutted farm road stretching into distance. Wally by Wally Swist. This haiku might occur in the micro-season, quote, when there is just enough spring rain to create puddles, not torrents, and not trickles, but puddles. Now we are going to dive into the next phase of our workshop. And I'm just showing you images of the different pictures that I selected to represent the prompt categories. It's time to write some haiku. I'd like you to choose one or more prompts and write a haiku, which includes the prompt or is inspired by it. When you're done, feel free to type your haiku into the chat so our lovely moderator, Sarita, can read them. She'll choose some to share with us. We will have about 10 minutes for writing and another 10 for sharing. And I'll leave this slide up so you can refer to it. To review, we looked at prompts from Master Haiku, Art, an Artist, Mary Cassatt, National Haiku Writing Month, Fairy Tales, Music, Repetitive Movement, Natural History, Photographs and Videos, Quotes, and Micro Seasons. So let's take time now, 10 minutes, and I think Sarita will help us keep track of the time, to write haiku using hopefully one or more of these prompts. And then, as you wish, add them to the chat. And afterwards, Sarita will read some, and hopefully I might be able to offer a word or two about your haiku. So good luck and enjoy your writing.
See, this isn't good.
Sorry, Anne. Who do I write this to? Everyone or somebody else?
I suggest putting it in the to everyone. Do you, Sarita?
Okay, got it. Okay, I got it. I'm good. Bye.
That way I can read it as well.
Got it.
I think I should be able to see both the everyone and the ones that are to me. Yes, I can see both ways in the chat. So I'll catch it either way.
Thank you, Sarita. Good to have you on board.
Thank you. A beautiful presentation.
Thank you, Sarita. I think we've kind of met our 10-minute mark. Is that your
Yes,
understanding?
I was looking. We started at, we're close enough. There was about 1 more minute. So let me go ahead and I'll start with sharing the poems that have come in.
I'm going to stop share the screen just so I can also enjoy what's
Okay.
coming in the chat. Thank you.
Okay. Starting at 3:37, the first one to come in was from John Stevenson. Expressing power, he snarls, I'll crown ya.
That's wonderful.
Adelaide Shaw, today's wind. And I don't see the rest of it. So maybe she.
That's because I'm still having trouble with this chat, but I finally did get it later on.
Okay. Okay. I will look at it a little bit later then. I'll come to it. I saw it down further.
So,
All right.
Sarita, could Adelaide just read hers?
Certainly. She'd like to read.
I could read it.
Certainly.
Today's, in fact, I wrote 3. So you might see 3 stops and starts, but I did get 3 in there eventually. Today's wind, all my good intentions blown away. Can I read the other 2 and then I'll go away?
Sure.
Okay.
Don't go away too far. We want you to stay with us.
Okay. Wild raspberries. Perhaps the sweetness comes from the thorns. And the last one I wrote using language. He speaks with his eyes, his new language since dementia.
Thank you for sharing those.
Thank you.
I hope I'm pronouncing the name right on this one. Dayashri Maniel. I'm not. I know I'm not saying it quite right.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
A bite in the wind, winter apples, with no one for company, a hermit thrush.
I'm so glad you used hermit thrush.
Some of these are just parts of phrases, so I'm getting to the ones that, okay, I came to Adelaide's and she's read hers. Okay, here's one from Marilyn Hazelton. After morning rain, all the trees singing. Cherie Grandstaff, Valentine's Day, 3 grade boys make paper airplanes instead of hearts.
I love the lightness in that one.
Whoops, I lost my scroll here. Let me get back.
I could read one while you're getting that, Sarita.
Okay, I found it.
Last winter apple, the horse nuzzles her cold hand.
Oh, that's nice. Was that in the chat?
That's by Marcy Wessels.
Oh.
I like the word last in that, last winter apple.
Greens at the beginning and end of June. Late March, last of the winter apples. That was Demar, D-M-A-Y-R. Brad Bennett, morning rain, a mismatched pair of socks.
Lovely.
Carolyn Banks, Sewing our blanket with wild flocks. Pink moon.
Could you read that again?
Sewing our blanket with wild flocks. Pink moon.
Hmm. That has a neat mixture.
It's spelled SOWING, so you
Right.
can take it two ways.
Here's another sewing one.
Uh-huh.
Sewing a soccer ball for home and careers, a passing grade.
Very important.
That was Cherie Grandstaff again. And here's Janice Doppler. Winter apples past their prime, the aroma of pie. Helen Ogden. Paper crane folding deeply into myself.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Paulette, still trying to flatten my COVID curves.
That's great.
There's Adelaide Shaw again. He speaks with his eyes, his new language since dementia.
Hmm.
Cherie Grandstaff, neighborhood bonfire. Her old flame shows up with his new girlfriend.
That's an interesting interpretation of flame.
Brad Bennett, seed husks, far from the feeder, down feathers.
Hmm.
Lisa Gerlitz,
Beautiful.
smear of berry on the knuckle, summer love.
Hmm. Summer love. Wonderful.
Here's Bill Kennedy, sleepless, the darkness inside.
Could you read that again?
Sleepless, the darkness inside.
Interesting.
Helen Ogden, in winter darkness, a golden puddle of lamplight.
Hmm. Beautiful.
Marilyn Hazelton, here's a monoku. I leave the dust where it lies. I can read
I'm sorry. I leave what?
I leave the dust where it lies, a monoku.
Nice.
Avon Cruz, in a puddle, I step on the moon, secret life.
Wonderful.
I love the magic in that one.
Hmm.
Morning rain, all I'd give to curse walking the dog. That was Maxine Berger. Here's one by Michael Dillon Welch. Winter apples, the borders still closed for the pandemic.
Hmm.
Adelaide Shaw, wild raspberries, perhaps the sweetest comes from the thorns.
Hmm.
Mark Farrar, children's footprints, splish splash in the puddles, gone too soon. Tim Weir's, lower clouds sail west, upper ones northeast, parting ways. Catherine Davis, 3 weddings, 3 dresses, never worn again.
Oh.
Kristen Lindquist, morning rain. The Vero repeats his song. That's a type of bird, V-I-R-E-O.
Vireo. Mhm.
Yes.
That's
Lady
lovely.
Baker Bard. Oh, she just had beginnings. Maybe she meant to type more. Okay. Sean Felix, twilight hands, navigate our curvature, a smoky bed.
Sarita, I'm wondering if maybe you could read one or two more before we bring this workshop to a close.
Well, we got started a little late, but we'll try to keep exactly to the time. I'm going to look for some that haven't been read yet. Here's one by Ignatius Fay. Moonlight, rounded reflections from the jazz man's sax. Great sound in it.
That's fabulous.
Margaret Pfeiffer, hands on my curves, once so alluring, but now pulling me earthward.
Neat.
We find one more to close with before we go on. Somebody that I haven't read yet. Wendy Toth Narconicol. I'm not saying it right. I'm sorry that I didn't say your last name right. It's hard to pronounce. All of her sisters gone. The last apple falls from the tree.
Hmm.
And a Monaco, one red berry for taste. Gretel Straw. Gretel. Gretel Straw.
Interesting. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm deeply moved and inspired by all of your creativity. I appreciate you attending the workshop and for your interest in my ideas and experiences with prompts. And thank you again to Sarita Martin for moderating. And I hope you have a wonderful remainder of the conference. Hope to see you sometime in person too.
Thank you, Anne. It was wonderful to have you.